always keep your smile. That's how I explain my long life. That is a quote from Jean Comment, the oldest person to ever live. We're going to get back to her here in a moment, but first let me welcome you to another teeny tiny edition of the Tiny Tennish. Unlike our main weekly episodes, I go solo on the Tiny Tennish and cover a top 10 list in about 10 minutes or less. Today's topic is one I think about often: life. But what exactly is life? Well, I actually discovered there is no consensus on the definition for life. But we know life when we see it, right? It's a living organism of some kind that eats, shits, fucks, stresses out about seeing the in-laws during the holidays. But since life itself can be so hard to nail a definition to, what about the opposite of life? What about death? Death is the termination of all vital functions or life processes in an organism or cell. Death is the end of life, the irreversible cessation of all biological functions that sustain a living organism. And death eventually and inevitably occurs in all organisms. And the great thing about being human is that we all get to live a life, but the harsh reality is every single human that has ever lived or will ever live will also die. And yes, that includes you, I'm sorry to say. As of 2022, an estimated total of 109 billion humans have died, or roughly 94% of all humans to ever live. Death can come for us in the form of illness, injury, crime, and of course, that old favorite, old age. And that's precisely what we're going to talk about now. We're going to talk about the places in the world where you can expect to live the longest and die the quickest. That's right, we're talking about life expectancy, but what do I mean by that? According to Wikipedia, life expectancy is averaging a person's lifespan from birth to death, and of course it varies globally due to factors like genetics, lifestyle, and healthcare access. The most commonly used measure is life expectancy at birth. Life expectancy at birth is also a measure of overall quality of life in a country and summarizes the mortality of all ages. So, I talked about Jean Comment, that quote at the beginning of the episode, which again was, quote, "Always keep your smile, that's how I explain my long life," end quote. That person was a French woman, Jean Comment, who is verified as having lived to age 122, that's the longest verified lifespan in human history, between February 1875 until she died in August 1997. So 122 years, that's a lot. And overall life expectancy is on the rise. Between the years 2000 and 2016, the average life expectancy increased by over 5 years globally. Now, viewing the world as a whole, the number of people born each day is higher than the number of deaths per day, which has led to an explosive population growth over the past 200 years. Now, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, life expectancy at birth has grown greatly over the years. Let's go way back to the Paleolithic era, also called the Old Stone Age, which began around 3 million years ago. At that time, life expectancy at birth was between 22 and 33 years old. Yes, so back then, about 3 million years ago, you were lucky. You were considered an old fogey to make it to the ripe old age of 33 before a fucking dinosaur ate your ass. Now, this stayed about the same, this age range, 22 to 33, it stayed about the same all the way through ancient Roman times. But around ancient Rome, data is lacking, but computer models provide the estimate. They say that if a person survived to age 20, they could expect to live around 30 years more. So, the life expectancy from birth was low, but if you did make it to age 20, you were expected to live another 30 years. That's not so bad. According to this data, life expectancy at birth did not break age 40 until the pre-Columbian Mesoamerica, and as recently as 1950, the world average was between 46 and 48 years old. 1950! That's not that long ago. Some of you listening were born in the 1950s. Back in the year 1950, the world average was no older than 48 years old for your life expectancy at birth. It's crazy. But, of course, that's the world average. If you're looking at just Europe and North America, where most of you are listening to me from now, that was more like 60 years old. But still, even 60, it's just, I don't know, I didn't expect it to be that young. So for practically all of history, until the last 70 years or so, the life expectancy worldwide never broke out of the 40s. That means, again, until the last 70 years, the global life expectancy at birth was never older than in age 40. And for most of that time, you were not expected to live past your 20s or 30s. That brings us to modern times. The global life expectancy in the year 2023 was just under 71 years old for males and 76-year-old for females. And there's, of course, significant regional variations from 57 years in Western Africa to 83 years in Western Europe. So that's going to be a theme that we're going to come back to again and again today. Africa, historically and currently, has always had a lower life expectancy at birth, which brings down the global average. Again, I'll repeat, today in Western Africa, 57 years old is your average life expectancy at birth compared to just under 83 years old in Western Europe. That is a huge discrepancy. When you combine it all, the average human life expectancy as of 2023 worldwide, considering everything, is 73.4 years old. That is the current global average, 73.4 years old. That's male and female combined. Now, let's get to the list today. This list comes from the United Nations Population Division, and it's ranking life expectancy at birth as of 2023. I've also compiled some research from the World Population Review, Worldometers, the CIA website Statista, and when necessary, Wikipedia. Now, my own personal edit here is that I'm only including countries on this list that have a population of 1 million people or more. So let's get to it. The top 10 countries with the longest life expectancy at birth as of 2023. Number 10 is our friends in Norway. The combined life expectancy there at birth is 83 years old. That's a little longer for females who live to 86. Males die at the young age of 80. Not far from Norway is Sweden, where they have a combined life expectancy of 84. And again, it's longer for females there, 85 to 81. Next, let's go to Australia. Down under, they have a life expectancy of 84 as well. These are all pretty close. This is the top 10, of course, out of however many hundreds of countries there are. Number 7 is Spain, also age 84, although their females can live up to 87. Next is South Korea, with life expectancy of 84 combined, but females also live to 87. Random fact here, many experts expect South Koreans to enjoy the longest life expectancies in the world by 2030. So South Korea is on the uptick for sure. That is until the population is entered into the Squid Games, which could lower their life expectancy. Next, let's go back to Europe and talk about Italy, who has a combined life expectancy at birth of 84 years old. Italian life expectancy has seen small decreases in recent years, though. Unlike South Korea, who's on the rise, Italy's actually on the decline. And that has been attributed to roughly 8% of Italy's population living in deep poverty. The northern portion of the country, which is the most economically developed, has a life expectancy of about 3 years higher than that of the less wealthy part of the country. So even in the same country, there's wide gaps in life expectancy based on your socioeconomic status. 4 is Singapore, which, yes, that rhymes, and they also live to 84 on average. Singapore has very low infant mortality rates, road traffic mortality rates, and deaths related to air pollution. So they're doing something right. Additionally, Singapore has a very low mortality rate for cardiovascular or chronic respiratory diseases, as well as diseases related to unsafe water or lack of hygiene. So Singapore has got it figured out. Much like Switzerland, the life expectancy there combined is also age 84. In Switzerland, it's almost double what it was at the beginning of the 20th century. So over the last 100 or so years, their life expectancy at birth has doubled. Way to go, Switzerland. They also spend a higher percentage of their GDP on healthcare than any other country in the European Union, and its people have a strong cultural appreciation for preventative health and healthy aging. Switzerland, consider me jealous. But number 2, we are going to Japan, who have a combined life expectancy of 85, and their females live to age 88 on average. According to a 2016 study, Japan's high life expectancy is largely attributed to diet. The Japanese have diets with lots of fruits and veggies, fresh meat and fish, and grain-based foods. That is different than the American diet, which when you replace fruits and vegetables with Doritos and Cheetos, you replace fresh meat and fish with packaged meat and fish. And let's go to number 1. What do you think it is? I'll give you a second here. Number 1 is Hong Kong, with a combined life expectancy at birth of 89. After World War II, Hong Kong underwent rapid economic development and has since seen a steady increase in the life expectancy of its people, and has a world-class education and employment programs, the lowest infant mortality rate in the world, and high-quality child health care. Let's go back through that top 10. Number 10, with a combined life expectancy at birth of 83, is Norway. Number 9 is Sweden. Number 8 is Australia. Number 7 is Spain. Number 6 is South Korea. Number 5 is Italy. Number 4 is Singapore. Number 3 is Switzerland. Number 2 is Japan. And number 1 is Hong Kong, which, yes, is technically a part of China, but it's on this list. And by the way, if you're wondering about the United States, we rank at number 47 with a combined age of 80. And as a quick bonus, here are the top 5 shortest life expectancy countries. Unfortunately, they're all located in Africa. Number 5 is South Sudan with a life expectancy of 57. Next is Central African Republic at 56. Next is Lesotho at 55. Nigeria, which is, I didn't expect to see them here. They're at 54. And the number 1 lowest life expectancy country as of 2023 is Chad with just an age of 54. Hopefully those improve in the future. And if you're wondering why they're all in Africa, the research said that as a rule, the countries with the lowest life expectancies in the world tend to be located in Africa. However, the WHO African region has seen a massive improvement in life expectancy in recent years, registering an increase of over 10 years between the years 2000 and 2016. African countries often struggle with hunger and especially with disease, and many African countries were hit hard by the HIV/AIDS epidemic. And malaria has been an issue for even longer. But the World Health Organization expects that health treatments across the African continent will continue to improve and life expectancy will rise in those countries, so that's good. We've made it to the end, and much like your very life, I hope that you felt this episode was worth living through. I don't know about you, but I feel like I've lived a full and joyous life all in this one 10-minute episode. What did you think of the list? What was the biggest surprise? What do you think about the future of life expectancy estimates? Hit me up on social media at TennisPod. All the links to our socials are in the show notes. But if you're listening on an app like Spotify or Good Pods, you can actually comment directly on this episode, and I'll see it there too. And if you're looking for some semi-related content, I put some links to those in the show notes. These are past long-form episodes that me and a guest have done on death, including the deadliest man-made events in history and the leading causes of death worldwide. You can listen to both of those right now. And last but not least, always remember that life is precious. Sure, it's full of pain, disappointment, and trauma, but it's also full of fun, joy, laughter, and knowledge. And that last one, knowledge. That's what I hope to have shared with you today. Thank you so much for listening, tiny listener, and I'll see you next time.